The interviews for candidates for the new Special Anti-Corruption Prosecution. The HCP has questioned 4 serious crime prosecutors. Besim Haidarmartai and Donika Prela were asked about some of their hottest files. A day after the opposition protest, the OSCE ODIHR mission chief spoke to opposition leader Lul Zimbasha at the DP headquarters on the June 30th voting process, listing all the findings on manipulations of voting. The Prime Minister accused the President from the Assembly speaking podium as violating the Constitution, while the President himself gave an interview for Greek media, stating the country is in crisis. It's 6 o'clock on Tuesday, the 9th of July, 2019. Good evening and thank you for tuning in to RTV Ora's English edition. My name is Alexandra, bringing you the only daily update of the local Albanian news translated into English. The High Council of the Prosecution has continued to interview candidates for the Special Anti-Corruption Prosecution, or SPAC, today. Attending interviews at the High Council of the Prosecution were Besim Haidarmartai, Besnik Muci, Dolorosa Musabeliu, and Prosecutor of Serious Crimes Donika Prela. The HCP asked Prosecutor Haidarmartai about a number of files, among them the Shulazi and Tahiri and 339 file. Euralius and Opdat have asked the prosecutor in particular about the wiretapping materials published by the newspaper Bild, who replied that as the Serious Crimes Prosecution did not have its own section for interception, it is difficult to determine from whom they have derived. In the interview before the High Council of the Prosecution, also the Chief of Serious Crimes, Donika Prela, was asked about the release of the investigative secrets of the 339 file, as well as if there was media pressure. She stated that there was media pressure, but that she had moved past it. It has been learned that Donika Prela has stated that the release of the investigative secrets of file 339 is under investigation and they are awaiting the results. Prela was also asked about the Shulazi file. Prosecutor Behar Dibra was also called to be interviewed for SPAC, but he did not appear. He did, however, send a letter to the High Council of Prosecution stating his reasons for non-attendance, which explained that he is engaged in a judicial process. He was asked by the High Council of the Prosecution to assign another date to give an interview for his assessment as a candidate for the Special Anti-Corruption Structure. The candidates spent about 60 minutes attending their interviews while the process was conducted by the High Council of the Prosecution itself. The interviews will take place until July 12, at which time all prosecutors will have been interviewed, despite the fact that most of them have not yet gone through the process of vetting. Tomorrow, 10th of July, will see interviews conducted with prosecutors Dorina Bejko, Dritan Prenci, Edvin Kondili, Elida Kachkini and the Tirana prosecutor Elisabeta Imerai. The Democratic Party leader, Lul Zimbasha, held a meeting with the head ambassador of the OSCE ODIHR, Audrey Glover, at the Democratic Party headquarters for about 50 minutes today. He has listed the opposition's claims regarding the manipulation of the voting process of June 30. The Democratic Party and its allies have publicly denounced that the votes for the election of mayors were administered by the Socialist Party, as even the members of the commissions were appointed by the Socialists. The opposition also submitted to the head of the OSCE ODIHR that the number of votes found in the ballot boxes had been changed with the aim of falsely increasing the number of voters participating in the process. Meanwhile, Audrey Glover presented their preliminary report to the Democratic leader, which did point out that June 30 was conducted in the midst of a polarised political climate, while the Central Election Commission decisions by the OSCE ODIHR after the withdrawal of the opposition have been politically oriented. The final ODIHR Observer report is expected to be made public within 2 months. The leader of the Democratic Party, via a Facebook status, thanked opposition supporters for their participation in yesterday evening's protest. According to Lul Zimbasha, United Citizens will enable the removal of Edi Rama's anti-national government, as the opposition's priority, according to him, is the necessary change to end transition. During the week, the Democratic leader Lul Zimbasha will meet with the allied parties and DP governing structures to determine the opposition actions following the June 30th elections. The Albanian government has taken the first measures against any administration employees involved in violent acts during the election campaign. Before the June 30 elections in the right-wing municipalities, they sought to stop the development of the process due to the decree of the president, thus becoming the protagonists in violation of some CEAZ instructions. During reporting on the Law Commission, Deputy Prime Minister Erion Brace said that the task force set up specifically for these elections had monitored any violent actions of the administration employees. Brace said that there were no school pupils involved in the election campaign from the task force report on 30 June. The number of employees dismissed from the civil service during 2018 came to 563, out of which 38 have been removed as a disciplinary measure taken by the National Food Authority. The government admits that the public administration has a lot of problems in both functioning, in its functioning processes and discipline. The President of the Republic, Ilir Meta, declared that he still hopes that the 13th of October will bring together the political parties in Albania to simultaneously host local, parliamentary and presidential elections. In an interview for Greek newspaper Kathimerini, the head of state expressed concern over what he considers backward steps that seem to be escalating to worrying proportions. At this moment, Albania is in a deep constitutional, institutional and representative crisis. It is my responsibility not to sit in silence, but to contribute to resolving this crisis as soon as possible so that we do not miss the October European Council opportunity to open accession negotiations. Stubbornness and indifference to the current deteriorating circumstances, or even worse, to blindly head towards one-party rule, will have devastating repercussions for the country and its European future, expressed Meta. Asked about his collision with Prime Minister Edi Rama, which has been referred to as having characteristics of a blood feud, President Ilir Meta said, "Today in Albania there is only one major conflict. It is the major conflict between the Prime Minister and the rule of law, democracy and political pluralism. This is the mother of all conflicts. I have always been very open and cooperative with the Prime Minister, all state institutions and political actors to induce a positive and constructive political approach focused on EU-related reforms as the top priority for the country. State responsibility and the best national interest have been the only two guiding principles in exercising my duty, and I will never compromise this over personal relationships," said Meta. The head of state mentions the oath he swore to defend the country's constitution, stating it is not the Prime Minister's right, nor anyone else's, to seek to capture every independent institution. But Albania has once and for all said never again to authoritarianism. Regarding statements made about George Soros, Meta said the hard-working and honest Albanian people will never accept to be a colony in servitude of money laundering and international organised crime. Children aged 5 to 6 years will soon have the opportunity to learn programming and robotics. This announcement was made by Tirana's Mayor, Erion Veliaj, after a meeting with his Swedish counterpart, Philip Sandberg. The project aims at advancing in the field of technology after a cooperative agreement with the Lund municipality in Sweden. We can learn from Sweden, as one of the most advanced countries in the field of technology, that children should be taught computer language from age 5 to 6, just as spoken language is taught. I believe that for Albanian children, this is a fantastic example. As we learn Albanian, we need to learn the language of design, programming, mechatronics, robotics, or artificial intelligence, he added. Mayor Philip Sandberg added that he was impressed by the profound transformation that Tirana has undergone. "I'm very happy to meet Tirana's Mayor, Erion Veliaj, and see the changes he has made here. When I was in Tirana last time, there was a lot of traffic and the centre square was a huge spinning top. Now I see that the plan for the city is mostly based on people, trees and suburban roads, just like in Sweden. We have worked hard there too to plan for a city that focuses on people, not on cars. I am very impressed with this work. I hope it continues and that you succeed in creating a city friendly to visitors and foreigners visiting Tirana. It is a pleasure to see that there have been so many changes," said Swedish Mayor Philip Sandberg. A concrete idea of cooperation between the two cities will be the Pyramid project, which will turn into the largest innovation centre in the region, according to Veliaj. Meanwhile, in a sign of friendship and cooperation between the two cities, Veliaj and Sandberg planted another tree in Europa Park. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of Ora News, thank you and good night.